Well, I think most everybody is in. We've got a few more people coming in, but we'll go ahead and get started. So, welcome to episode 3 of Swatch and Learn. Thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Stephanie Sheridan, and I'll be your host, along with the Fat Quarterly editor of, excuse me, Lisa Ruble. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Stephanie. Hi, everyone. Glad you could join us.
And we also have Rachel Rossi, who is the fabric designer of our feature collection, Modern Vintage Treasured. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, everybody. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, a little bit of information for you joining us today that maybe you aren't a Fat Quarterly subscriber yet. The Fat Quarterly is a publication that has been in print for 25 years, and it's a way for Benartex to share our amazing fabrics directly with you, our consumers. In each issue, you'll find fun and informative articles, not just one, but two full project patterns. And also, you get a swatch pack of fabrics to get you started on the projects. And this is the issue that we're going to be talking about today. It is our summer 2025 issue. So, we have lots of fun and exciting things to share with you today. Please note that we are going to have some time at the end of the session for questions. So if you have a question during the presentations, please pop it in the Q&A box that you see at the bottom of your screen. So now let's get started. Rachel Rossi is here to tell us all about this amazing fabric collection. So Rachel, I'm going to turn everything over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, for those of you that don't know me yet, since I'm a little bit new to the Benartex family, I was going to just kind of show you my where I come from a little bit. So, I am in beautiful Pennsylvania. I work out of my home in Lancaster. And I am going to pull up the PowerPoint so you can kind of see a little bit of my background, and then we'll get into how I designed this line and some of the projects you can make using it. So, oops, gotta share my screen, that helps. All right. So, can everybody give me a thumbs up? We're good? Okay, thanks. I got a message, so you never know. All right, so today we're going to talk about my new fabric line called Modern Vintage Treasured. And this is just such a fun line because all of my pattern designing career has really about taking quilting tradition and making it modern. So this is kind of a beautiful marriage of the two. So, just quickly about me, I get my quilting honestly. It goes back several generations from my great grandfather drawing quilt blocks with his kids. We have hundreds of old drawings from him, like you can see here, from the early 1920s. And then my grandma was a quilter, taught me to quilt, and taught my mom to quilt as well. My mom opened a quilt shop when I was in junior high, and so it's just been a really kind of fun family gene that has been passed down to me. And I'm really honored to continue the tradition in my own special way. My young daughters have started quilting, so they're part of my team. So this is my little family. My husband, Steven, is kind of our website tech guy. My daughters help me bag patterns and have lots of opinions during my design process that they like to make known. So it's a really fun kind of family thing that we have going on. And then I have some other incredible helpers. This is my babysitter, so she watches my girls while I work. She's also turned into my packing and shipping department. And my head cheerleader and best friend, Kathy. If you ever see me at a show, you'll see Kathy nearby. So I have a really incredible team of people helping me create these designs and get them out into the world. And usually I get ahead of this question because it's always a question and answer question at the end. How do you get all these samples sewn? You have three little girls. How are you doing all of this? And it's just absolutely friendship. So I have some friends that will hunker down with me for a weekend and sew and sew and sew to get all of these samples made. If you read the Fat Quarterly interview, you'll see a little call out to them. We call ourselves the Sew and Sews. And so we create 3 to 4 quilts in a weekend. We create the tops, and then we are working in my long armor's basement. Her name is Cindy Carey. You can check her out with that little QR code there. But it's an incredible process to get quilts that usually take months to make done in a weekend. So I have a really incredible team of helpers behind me. Throughout the presentation, you'll see little QR codes. If you're not familiar with how to use them, you just you pull up the camera on your phone, hover over that, and a little link will pop up and you can click on it. So any pattern that you see that you need or a project you want to see more about, just grab your phone and scan that QR code and you can check it out. So now that you know about me and how this all gets done, I am excited to tell you more about the fabric line. So I have 3 lines out right now that you would know about. The first is Bee Haven. That one is in shops right now. The one on the far right that you're seeing is called Wish Flower. That will be out in September, October. I've gotten lots of questions on that. If you tuned into the virtual fabric show, a lot of people are antsy for those patterns, but they won't be out yet. And today we are talking about the nice big one here in the center called Modern Vintage Treasured. And so a lot of questions have come in about how do you go from limitless ideas to a fabric line, and how did we get here to Modern Vintage Treasured? So I thought I'd take you a little bit behind the scenes of how we do this. So obviously we have to start with an idea. And this idea didn't start out as poppies. I actually started out with those little wonderful bouquets of flowers that kids bring in to their moms. Usually they're what we would call weeds from the lawn. And you put them in a tiny vase and they sit on your counter as long as they possibly can. And so I wanted to do a line based around that. But as I started designing, I was having the most fun creating the vases for the flowers and not the flowers themselves. So I honed in on vases and kind of all these great textures that you could pull out of them. Once I kind of got into the vases and got them how I liked them, I turned to the flowers. So it seems a little backwards, but I turned to the flowers and how I would want them to look. So I tried some more realistic outline kind of drawings, loosened them up here kind of in the center to really kind of sketchy, loose, more abstract drawings, and kind of landed on something in between. I simplified by the end down to just simple poppies, a little bit of baby's breath here and there, and just kept it nice and clean. Um, and as I design, I kind of just go with whatever I'm excited about at the moment. So I went to flowers and then I went back to vases and played with lots of different looks. And once again, I just really had a blast with the textures. So you'll see in this line that I pull out textures from each of the vases in the main print. And a good example of this is this one line that I have circled here in red, created a bunch of different options for prints. So some of these didn't make it into the final run, but it's kind of fun to see the different things you can do. So I design everything digitally, so I'm drawing on a tablet and it comes up on my screen as I work. But the nice part about that is then once it's on my computer, it's a little unit that I can play with. So I actually pulled out this little line of beads from this vase, mirrored it, tilted it, repeated it into all these different options. So the pink one on the far right and the black one kind of in the center of the screen are 2 pieces that ended up in the final line. And they kind of translated into more lacy, doily things that you would use with these really beautiful vases and flowers. So it's fun to kind of watch these projects evolve because they don't always end up how you intended when they started. So once I got all of my ideas out and said, all right, I want vases with lots of textures and really simple flowers, I created a document to share with our art team about where I wanted this line to go. And this is at the point where I kind of honed in and I said, okay, I want this to be about those vases that we treasure. So that's the name of the line is Modern Vintage Treasured. So kind of those heirloom pieces, hobnail, milk glass that are handed down to us that we have tucked away in our cabinet or displayed in a beautiful armoire, something like that. I wanted to highlight kind of these treasured pieces. So here you'll see the colors I was going for were neutrals and oranges, kind of coral, poppy oranges. Words like dusty and treasured and hobnail. And then all of these great textures. So what started out as a very neutral line kind of evolved a little bit. We kept some of the neutrals with bright pops of orange, and then we added in this dusty blue. And I give full credit to the art team on finding the perfect blue for me because this is exactly what I imagined, and they found it. So we ended up with a whole slew of prints, and as you can see them coming up on the screen, you'll start to notice that it runs kind of like, you know how pleasing it is to look at a paint chip when you're at the paint store and you're looking for your colors and you just see that whole nice gradation of colors. So as we run from the screen right to left, you go from dark to light on each of these kind of hues. And I like to make sure that that happens in my lines so you can have a nice range of contrast to work with when you're sewing and quilting and planning your projects. Um, so lots of fun textures to play with that really don't limit you. And then I gave lots of flowers and vases for us that like fussy cuts to also play with. So it's a fun line for anyone to work with no matter what your style is. And then once I created the fabrics, I needed something to make them into. So I created 4 different patterns for this line. Some are brand new patterns and some are kind of redos of existing patterns that I thought would work really well. So I'm going to take a quick moment and show you some of my projects. And then in a little bit, we have a sneak peek of other designers' projects as well. But that's a little bit later. So the first one I want to show you is called Poppy Patch. And on this one, I really wanted to show off how to use that great border print. So I pulled out the borders and I said, okay, what can we put in the middle of this? And everybody loves a pre-cut because cutting is the worst part. And so I did just the nice 5-inch pre-cuts in the center. And to give it just a little extra something, we added some applique in the bottom corner. It kind of breaks the rules and comes outside of the border. And this is a technique that I've been working with called bias tape applique that I just absolutely love. And up until this point, I hadn't done it in such a like a detailed way. And so the whole time I was sewing it with my sew-and-sew friends in the basement, it was probably midnight. And as I was sewing it, I was going, it's working. So it was a really fun kind of just like I unlocked a new level of bias tape applique. So this pattern is called Poppy Patch. Comes in sizes from a baby up to king size. I try to give as many sizes as possible. And it's just really fun way to work with all the prints if you love the whole collection. And then I love details, so this is the binding on it. I just did big stitch binding, but just a little extra pop of color on the binding for that. So the other quilts that I have, this one is actually a redo of an existing pattern called Trellis Twist. And it uses these really wonderful large scale blocks. So it's great for a fat quarter pack to really show off your favorite prints. So for me, those were all the textures. And the background, I used those blue poppies and kind of let them shine as well. And it's also a great way to show off a nice border. So for me, I'm really into mitered borders right now. I don't know why, but this loopy lace print on the edge of the quilt just is a delicious mitered border. And then that's what the pattern looks like if you're looking for it in your local quilt shop. This quilt is another redo of an existing pattern, and I had to use it. This was like the thing I thought of as soon as we started designing the border print in this line. I said, we need something to fussy cut. And so this pattern does a great job of showing off all the vases and even some of the lines and um, designs in the border print. And of course, more details. Um, so we also have a wide back of this kind of etched print that you see here in the center of the screen. That is a nice wide back. It's nice and neutral. It's going to go with a lot of collections, but of course it looks great with modern vintage because it's from this line. And then the last quilt of mine that I want to show you is called Deco Bloom. It's based on a dahlia bloom, and I had designed this a while ago and kind of set it off to the side, and I said I need the perfect fabric line for it, and it's just gonna wait. And so Modern Vintage was that perfect line. So it gradates from dark to light, like I said, that kind of paint chip effect. And it's just a really fun quilt to work with. And this is actually the baby size of this quilt pattern is free on my website. So you should all grab your phones and scan that QR code to get the free pattern. If you need a larger size, they're available. You can upgrade to that on my website as well. And I'm going to come back in a couple seconds, but in case I went too fast or anything like that, just sign up for my newsletter. That way you can be in touch with me all the time. But we will be back. I will be back in a couple minutes to show you some more projects, if you can believe it, after Stephanie and Lisa take us through some of their projects. So I will hand it back over to Stephanie.
Thanks, Rachel. All right, so I hope everybody enjoyed seeing and hearing about Rachel's design process. I've been in the industry a while and I learn something new every time I'm in one of these shows. So it was great to hear all about Rachel's process and see how Modern Vintage Treasured came to be. So next up, we have Lisa Ruble. One of the projects in the issue was designed by Lisa, the Poppy placemats. She has a great way to create those fussy cut strips that she used in the placemats. Lisa, can you tell us a little more?
Absolutely. So I'm going to just give you a quick look at all four of them. When I knew that I had to come up with a project put in the Fat Quarterly, I immediately gravitated towards this stripe because I'm a big fan of letting the fabric do the work for you. And I knew I could use this stripe and add the squares at the bottom and have a quick and easy placemat that was just really stunning, showing off those vases. So I have two that use the large part of the stripe with the vases. And then because it's great to use all parts of the fabric, I used the skinny stripe too and just bordered it with a row above and below of the squares. So that's what all four of those look like. And then I am going to switch to my other camera. Um, Actually, I'm going to ask Stephanie and Maria Elena to switch me to my other camera, and I'm going to show you how I cut this stripe into those placemat sections. So I've got a lot of this fabric so I can make more of the placemats because I wanted to have some to play with as I was putting these placemats together. So if you look at the pattern in the Fat Quarterly, you can see for the larger ones, we're cutting 18.5 inches long by 8 inches tall. And then for the narrower one, it is 3.5. And I came up with those measurements to make the best use of what we had here. So I'm going to use
Lisa,
two
can you hold on a
rulers.
second before you start cutting? We need to get that camera on spotlight.
Spotlight. Okay.
There it is.
All
Okay.
right. Perfect. Thank you. So I have a 6-inch wide ruler and I need to cut the 8-inch. So what I do is bring another ruler over as well because I don't have a wider one. And I'm going to start right down by the selvage. And because rulers are see-through, they work really well to kind of get a preview of what it looks like. And so you can see 8 inches takes me, if I look at the 2 here, takes me right into a little bit of that stripe, the dotted stripe, but that's okay because that's going to end up in my seam allowance. So what I'm going to do is get my rulers lined up and also use a line to look at the bottom edges of the vases to make sure that I don't have it angled at all. And then the one other thing I'm going to look at is I'm going to cut a piece that is 18.5 inches long. You can cut it longer to start with and then kind of choose how you want to center your vases. If you look back at this one, you can see I've got my vases centered in there. So if you cut it a little bit bigger, then you can choose your 18.5 inch section. So I'm going to start out by just cutting along the selvages here. Let's see, I'm at about 20 inches, so that gives me some wiggle room. And then I find it easier instead of moving the fabric if I can move my body to the other side of the cutting. So I'm going to switch my rulers and line up on my 2-inch line and then come to the other side and make that cut. And then I'll just take the little ruler and cut along this edge. And you can see right here, I've got my piece to work with, and then I can decide where I want my 18.5 inches to fall and trim it right like that. But I've got those bases centered beautifully on this, and the way the fabric is set up, you can cut enough for 4 placemats out of 1 width of fabric. So I'm going to set that one to the side. Oops, fabric is sliding. And I'm going to move this up. And now I'm going to focus on the little dotted stripe here. So I can actually use that existing line from the top of the wider stripe, and I just need to cut the second line. So this one's going to be 3.5. And so if I line up 3.5 there, you can see I'm set up right here with enough of a seam allowance in the dotted part for my next wide stripe placemat. And I'm going to cut this one, oops, bumping into my camera. Cut that one as well, and then trim the end off. And oops. Same thing as with the other one. If you cut a little bit longer than 18.5, then you can say, make sure that you don't have one of the flowers cut off on the edge like that. You can center some of those really pretty big blooms. So there's my second piece. And then I will just show you. So then I can cut another one here and there. That makes 4. And then I've got room for another wide one, another skinny, and another wide. So whether you make additional placemats or you just use that for something else, you'll use a decent chunk of that width of fabric, but still have some left to play with. I think you could also do a really nice pillow with that same wide stripe right there, and then put your fat quarters or your squares top and bottom and just make it into a pillow instead of placemats. And then the other thing I wanted to show you, we have a little bonus project in this issue, and those are the coordinating napkins that go with the placemats. And the napkins are made, you can see they're single-sided, and they're wonderful because you can use them with the placemats because they look so beautiful together, but also just in terms of being more environmentally friendly and not having a lot of waste from paper napkins. So there is a QR code in the Fat Quarterly. And I think then also it's going to show up in the chat as well, the link for that, and that will take you to a page that shows you how to make the placemats, but there's a really nice mitered corner technique so that you end up with, I'll bring it up to the camera a little bit, these nice mitered corners. It's a really easy finish and it just creates a really nice look instead of folding those corners over. You can see my napkins have all of the fold lines in them from our photo shoot, but it's a great way. Pull one of the placemats up so you can see how pretty they look. I had trouble deciding which of the larger florals to use to go with the placemats. It was so nice to have a bunch of choices for these napkins. So that is a fun little summer project for using your modern vintage fabrics that you can use inside, outside, and even keep them year round. All right, Stephanie, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Lisa. And let's see, where am I at my script? Oh, sorry, I was mesmerized and I lost my place in my script. Um, so I definitely think I'm going to need to make some of those napkins to have on my dining table. Okay, so it is now time for a poll. We're going to pop a quick poll up on the screen. We're curious, how long have you been a Fat Quarterly subscriber? And I will let you guys take a look at this poll and answer. And if you answer the poll, you'll have a chance to win a fun, fabulous fabric prize. And we'll announce the winner at the end of the session today. And while we're doing that, I am going to go ahead and get my share screen started. Okay, can everyone see that? Awesome. Okay, so one of the fun things in each issue is our block remix. It's a popular article where we take a classic quilt block and we ask some of our quilting friends to give it a makeover and freshen it up a little bit. For this issue, we chose the rail fence block. So here you can see the original rail fence block. It's made up of 4 units. Each of the 4 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, can be considered a block in and of itself. And each unit consists of 3 or more strips that are very easy to make. And then the 4 units are sewn together, turning 2 by 90 degrees to create the block. And you kind of get this fun windmill pattern in the center. So our first remix is called the Mitered Rail, where Siobhan Fitzpatrick created a twist on the classic block, transforming these simple lines into fabulous angles. Instead of using traditional strip units, she created half square triangles, which she has a love-hate relationship with. So this was a challenge to herself. But she created these absolutely beautiful, perfect mitered corners. Rachel, you might like this with the mitered corners since you're on a mitered corner kick.
Absolutely.
And here you can see the block. You can see the 4 units. And then I created a quick inspirational quilt just for you guys to see what this block would look like when it was all put together in a quilt. So this is simply 3 blocks by 4 blocks with I used a stripe binding because I'm a sucker for a stripe binding. And Siobhan used the Under the Sea collection to create her block remix. And she said it worked perfectly with this blocks because the fabrics are non-directional, so it didn't matter which way you flipped them. And there are bold color differences to give you that effect that she was looking for. So our next one is called Pointy Picket Fence by Deborah Rivera. And it maintains the original concepts of the strips sewn into units, but she snowballed one side of each strip to resemble a picket fence. And then when the units are sewn together, you get this really cool secondary design in the center of the block. So here you can see the 4 units with the snowballed corners and the cool secondary design. And then we laid it out into a sashed block or a sashed setting pulling that dark blue from the center out and added in a big wide border so you can show off some quilting. And Deborah used our Fresh Blends collection by Kimberly Einmo. Kimberly Einmo was on our first episode of Swatch and Learn. And this is one of our newer basics lines. And it's fantastic because it's a full range of bright, beautiful colors and also offers a very subtle textural print. And then our third block is called Prairie Fence by Jennifer Wagner. Jen decided to have a little fun and mix things up. She also was playing with splitting these blocks diagonally. So she created a 45-degree diagonal and put a dark color in these center pieces to create this pinwheel. And then when the pinwheels are combined, or when the blocks are combined, you get a secondary pinwheel. And I'll show you that here. So on the left, we have the block. You can see the 4 units, and you can see how she split them diagonally. And then the inspirational quilt, you can see the dark pinwheels in the center of the block, but you also get these light pinwheels where the blocks come together. And for this one, I'm showing it with 16 blocks, so it's 4 by 4. And then I used a dark color in the border, and then I highlighted one of the larger prints from the collection in that outer border. And Jen used A Prairie Heart collection by Katie Daisy. She made use of the gorgeous flowers and the butterflies to bring a fresh energy and charm to this fun take on a traditional rail fence design. So here are all of the block remix blocks together. You can see our original, which we colored in Shadow Blush, and then our 3 remixes. So I challenge each and every one of you to take a classic block, turn it on its head, modernize it, make it your own, and we'd love to see what you do with those. So let me stop my screen share. Stop share. There we go. All right, so that was the block remix. That's in each and every issue of the Fat Quarterly, and we pick a different block every time. It's a lot of fun. We have a great time seeing what these designers do with the classic blocks and making them new and fresh. So now we're going to go back to Rachel. Rachel recently had a project hop using Modern Vintage Treasured, and she's going to share with you some of the projects that her quilty friends created.
Thank you, Stephanie. I got all excited about trying to see what I can do with that block now too. That's really fun. So I'm going to share my screen. So I saw in the chat that a lot of people are like, ooh, I have to add this to my queue. Oh no, another project for the pile. So I apologize in advance because there's going to be more for your queue here. So if you haven't heard of a project hop before, I'm going to tell you what it is and then we'll dive right into all the fun projects people are creating. So a blog hop is kind of left over from when blogging was really huge, and you would hop around, you would link from blog to blog and see all the different projects people are making or free quilt blocks, things like that. So I said, well, Instagram is kind of a thing right now, so let's do a project hop on Instagram. So you can check out all of the projects on my blog using the QR code here, or you can hop over onto Instagram, and I'm highlighting one of these projects every day. So we're smack dab in the middle of the hop right now. So all last week we had projects, and the rest of this week we should be having some projects too. The more you share and like and comment and tag your friends, you actually get a chance to win some of these patterns that you're seeing. Some of the designers have been really generous and are giving away like multiple patterns. Benertex is giving away a fabric bundle. So definitely hop on to Instagram or Facebook and make sure to check it out because you have, I think it's 13, there's 13 prizes being given away, which is a lot. So you have a lot of chances to win. And it's also just really fun to see everyone's take on this line and the projects they make using it. So I'm going to show you a little teaser of most of these projects today, and I hope I add to your queue in the best of ways. So the first one I want to show you is called Tranquil Rivers, and this is by Katie May Quilts. And this is a baby size, and I think this is a really cool pattern because this is the whole baby quilt. It looks just like a giant block. And in her pattern, the larger the size is, the more this scales up. So it's really cool to show off big prints and prints that you like. And it's also fun for that tiny fussy cut center. If you haven't noticed, I think I have a trend. I like mitered corners and fussy cuts today. But I just thought this was a beautiful quilt that really showed off all of the contrast in the prints. The next project is the Ultimate Travel Bag. So one of my good friends in that So-and-So's group is a Bianni fanatic. She makes out every bag, and she was really excited to make something with my fabrics. And she said, "What do you need? What do you want?" And so that was fun. Like it was a kid in candy shop. I just went through and it was like, what Bianni pattern do I want? So this is the Ultimate Travel Bag. I thought it was a great way to show off the blue poppies. I didn't use them a whole lot in the quilts that I created because I knew that everyone would know what to do with that print, and I wanted to show off the others and see how strong they were on their own. So I was excited to have a project with these blue background poppies in it. And we even found a fussy cut spot on the shoulder strap for one of the vases. So it's just the sweet details really make it. The next project is by the Devoted Quilter. This is called the Sparkler Quilt. And I was just stunned when I saw this because it's such a simple block to create. Like even beginners could do this easily, but it creates so much movement in the quilt and shows off the bright pops of color. And I just love like the way that some of these prints land. Like on that close up of the block here, you see those little loopy designs showing up they're just a whisper. And it's a really mesmerizing quilt to look at. I think Sparkler was the perfect name for it. So this is a great project for a beginner if you want to use the line and show off a lot of your favorite prints. The next is the Evora dress, and this was made by Ember Craft Company. Her work is incredible, but she actually used a pattern from Little Lizard King, which if you're into making kids clothes at all, like you probably know about them. They have great patterns, and her model is just too cute. So this is 5-year-old approved. It twirls, it spins, and shows off those poppies in the cutest of ways. And if you remember, my team from the beginning has requested 3 of these dresses. So I will be working on these in the future. We have another bag from Around the Bobbin called the Essential Tote Bag. And I love this because, again, it's a beginner-friendly project that just shows off your favorite print. So you pick your 2 favorites to show off on the front. It has the nice handle that's not going to wear out on you and tons of pockets on the inside, which is a requirement for all of my bags. Really sweet project and really quick to come together. This one was on the hop, I think yesterday or the day before, and someone commented that this is going on their list of things to make for teacher gifts during the school year, which I thought was fabulous. Comes together quickly, but looks really impressive when you're done. We have the Hope panel pillow from Dragonfly's Quilting Design Studio. So this is fun because it's a mashup of my fabric line and her panel. So she has this really great panel with lots of hopeful quotes, and who can't use a little hope once in a while? But her background is a very natural, unbleached looking fabric, and it goes perfectly with my colors that I chose, but also the base cloth that we use is unbleached cotton. So it's just a really nice pairing, and I thought it was surprising because I didn't know she had these, so I was happy to find them, and definitely keep it in mind for a simple little project like a pillow, or you could turn this into a larger bag. I thought it just turned out really lovely. And then we have from Snapdragon Quilting, we have the Poppy Louise quilt. This is a new pattern of hers, and this is also one of those jaw droppers. I had seen the blocks as she was making them. She was sending me progress photos, but I just had no idea what it was going to come together to look like. So each of the individual blocks uses her take on reverse applique. So if you want to learn something new, Jen is a great teacher, so this would be a great pattern to try it out on. And then one of the details that I just thought was so sweet was just in the center where all the lines come together, how she quilted it. And like even these little background details are just really lovely. So if you want to see more about these projects or enter to win some of the fabulous prizes I was talking about, make sure to scan these codes and hop on the blog or on Instagram. They all lead to each other, so either way, you're fine. But I hope you enjoyed seeing some of these projects. It was really fun for me to watch how everyone's using this line in such different ways, from clothes to bags to quilts.
Great, thanks, Rachel. And yes, I'm thinking you probably did add a few more projects to some of our viewers' queues. I'm guessing that their list of to-dos has gotten longer. I hope they can all, find time to make all of these beautiful projects. All right, so next up we're going to go back to Lisa. We're going to go behind the scenes a little bit or the photo shoot for this particular issue. It's always fun to see information about how the photographs that you see in the magazine come together. So, Lisa?
Okay. I have a little slideshow, but before that, I just wanted to go off of something that Rachel had said and show off the other project that we had in the issue. This was by Debbie Cradaville called Stacked Bricks, and just a really neat way to cut all of the squares into rectangles and then stack them together in vertical rows. But what I wanted to point out about this is if you look at all of the vases that we have in this picture, I had talked to Rachel because I actually wrote up the interview that's featured in the issue. And so she had told me the background about all of the vases and all of the textures on them. And so when I was looking for props for the photo shoot, I went to the at-home store and spent a delightful half hour or so in their vase and tchotchke aisle and found all these little white textured vases. And I know they're not exactly the same color as Rachel's, but they have fantastic texture. And I just loved being able to take that idea from her fabric and make it appear in our photo shoot as well. And those vases are now in my living room on a table behind my couch. So, Rachel, I will think of you often.
I'm so glad.
And now I'm going to share the screen and show you, as Stephanie said, a couple behind the scenes pictures. So we did this photo shoot in April, and things were getting green in Michigan, so we didn't have to worry too much about our grass situation. But we did need to find a pretty table to put these placemats on. So this is actually my backyard, and that is my family's picnic table on our deck. And we chose it a, because it was easy, but also the color of the wood was really nice with these placemats because it was very light and just created a nice neutral background. But the tricky thing about shooting placemats and actually table runners too, and I think I touched on this a little bit last issue, is that you need to have some props set up and a sort of a staging set up so that it you can tell what the project is and it makes sense. Now, if we were to put the plates on the placemat like you would do during a meal, you wouldn't be able to see the design of the placemat. So you need to create that scene and put the idea of the plates, maybe the silverware, the glasses into the scene, but without covering up the placemats. And then the other challenge is also what angle to photograph from, in part because placemats are longer than they are tall. And if you look at the cover of the Fat Quarterly, we're going with a vertical picture there. So we did a number of angles, and you can see this is Erin, our photographer, standing on a step stool so she can have sort of a look down view on the this little setting that we'd put together. And this is actually from the other angle, but this is very similar to what we ended up with from that shot she was taking. So by setting it up this way, we ended up being able to see three of the four placemats, but also get that sort of that scene setting concept in there with the plates. You can see the napkins on top of the plates, and then the glasses and the pitcher. And I will tell you a secret about putting ice water, iced lemonade, whatever it is, in a photo shoot. Once we have the concept for taking the photo, we spend anywhere between 10 minutes and half an hour just tweaking things, making sure we've got the placemat with the prettiest collection of fabric combos front and center, making sure that everything is straight, kind of playing with the angle and all of that. And if you put the ice in right away, by the time you take your final official shot, the ice has melted. And if you're using iced tea or lemonade, you may have watered down the color. So what we do is we have a bucket of ice off to the side, and we take all our practice shots, move things around, change up the angles and all of that. And when we finally have our official finished picture, we go and dump the ice in, and that way we have the ice cubes and all of that. I can only imagine if we were photographing this week where it's been in the 90s, how quickly that ice would melt. We were lucky since it was April that the ice did not melt as quickly. The other thing I just wanted to point your attention to is the other challenge with shooting things on tables are the chairs, because depending on how pushed in they are, they can cover the project that you're trying to showcase, but if you don't have them, it looks like something is missing. And so you can, if you look in the lower right of the picture, you can see just the base of the chairs. It's just a little hint of them, but it's something that if they were not there, it would look very empty. And even the ones behind the table, we were kind of tucked in this corner by that railroad tie wall because we were trying to stay in the shade. And so those chairs behind, you can't actually sit in them right now because they're pushed up against the wall. But because they're there, it helps to set that scene of, yes, this is a table we're just about to sit down to eat. And then this was, you can see this is a vertical version of that photo taken from the other angle where Erin was standing. And this was one of the ones we had envisioned for the cover. And I think this actually is the cover, just zoomed in a bit. But you can see you still have the little taste of the chairs in the front and in the back, which help to make it believable that this is a table setting. And we've got the ice in. And then the other thing I just wanted to talk about real quickly was the flowers. I was unsuccessful in sourcing poppies of the right color for this photo shoot, but I had a happy accident at Trader Joe's where they had all of these blooms. This was two bundles of ranunculus, which is one of my favorite flowers. And while they are not actually poppies, they're pretty darn close in terms of how they look. And I lucked out in terms that the color of these bunches matched beautifully with Rachel's fabric. So we used these for the photo shoot, and then I enjoyed them in my house for the next week or so while they lasted. And then this was my favorite shot from our photo shoot. A lot of times when you're doing table shots, you can get great shots by looking down from on top. And in order to get or for Erin to get the camera over the top of the table, she decided this was the best way to sit on the ladder and much safer than standing on the top step and leaning over. But I just got such a kick out of this photo because that's not typically how people sit on ladders. But it shows you some of the different angles that we did for this photo shoot. And so that was one of the photos that came from that up over top view with the ladder. And then just this is another shot that we took. This one does not have the scene setting aspect to it quite as much because this is not how you would actually display placemats in your house. But we also like to take a shot or two that just really shows off the beauty of the projects. And in this case, gives you a view of all four of the placemats plus the napkins. And then, of course, the vase of ranunculus to tie it all together. So that's just a little peek into our photo shoot adventures from this issue. I will stop my share and turn it back over to Stephanie.
Thanks, Rachel. Sorry, that was Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. It's still early. I don't think I had enough coffee yet this morning. So, poor Erin, I'm glad that she was up safely on that ladder, but that photo makes me nervous,
I
especially with the camera in hand.
I will be honest, when I wasn't taking the photo that I took, I was actually holding the ladder and kind of spotting her. But then I had to back up and take that photo because it was just priceless.
Absolutely. All right, so that's it for our presentations today. I'm going to go through the list of questions and see if there's any that we can answer for you. Let's see. Rachel, the colors in modern vintage treasured, are the flowers more rust colored or orange colored? What would you say?
That is such a good question. So I always giggle about how me and the art team talk about colors and just like different patterns in general, because we label them in kind of silly ways. So I think what we came down to on the orangish red is I would call it like a terracotta orange. Um, because pretty much if you put this next to a terracotta pot, you're gonna find those colors in it. Maybe slightly more vibrant. So I would say I've been calling them terracotta. So it's like dusty blues and terracotta red is what I have labeled it.
So a little bit of orange, a little bit of rust, both
Yeah.
are combined to make the colors.
Yeah, and you'll
Awesome.
find that in my lines. I don't really do green green. I do like a yellow green. Or like I always like I like the marriage of the two. So you'll see that as a trend as you see more lines come out from me that it's always that in between color on the wheel.
Awesome. Okay, let's see other questions. If you're watching on your phone, how can you get the pattern information from the QR codes? Good question.
Great question.
But here's what we've been doing. If you go through the webinar chat, we've been putting the links to a lot of the things that Rachel has talked about in the webinar chat, so you should be able to find the links there.
Yep.
Also,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
I was gonna say I saw they posted the link to the blog that has all of the projects. So everything is at that one. If you just want to click that one and then you can go from there. That should be a good way to get there.
Awesome. Um, any thoughts on a possible quilt pattern that can be used with a 25-piece fat quarter bundle? I'm going to open this up to both Lisa and Rachel because I know both of you are pattern designers, fabric designers. Do either of you have a pattern that works with a 25-piece fat quarter bundle? Oh, they got to think about
I
this. You
think
stumped them.
you did. You got me.
I
Oh, go
so
ahead, Lisa.
oh, I was just say I have a pattern called On the Go, which uses 20 fat quarters and then a background fabric as well. That's the one that's coming to me top of mind. Rachel?
I just recently got into pre-cuts. So I don't have any with that use the whole pack like that yet. Um, so I think I would head over to Lisa's website and grab that pattern.
Okay. Um, and then maybe I missed this, but is this line available now?
Yes, it is.
It is in your quilt shops right now,
And if it's not, ask for it.
for sure. Um, let's see. Oh, Lisa's a great teacher. Thank you for the demonstration. Does Lisa have a YouTube channel? Lisa, do you have a YouTube channel?
I do have a YouTube channel. It maybe doesn't get as much attention as it should, but I do have some tutorials up there. It My business name is Quilty Zest. So you can either go to YouTube and search Quilty Zest or go to my website, which is quiltyzest.com, and you can find a link to YouTube from there. But thank you. That's a very nice compliment.
Okay, another question. If you subscribe to the Fat Quarterly now, will you get the summer issue? No, you won't. You will get, if you sign up now, your first issue will be our fall issue, and we're going to do another Swatch and Learn with the fall issue. But in each issue of the Fat Quarterly, you can order back issues. So once your subscription starts and you get your fall issue, thanks, Lisa, you can use that form there to order this summer issue. And how can you tell your expiration date on your Fat Quarterly subscription? On the front label, and I threw my envelope out. It does say on the front label something about um, your your subscription date. But if you have any questions, you can check in with us, info@benertex.com. If you send an email there, we can help you with that. Rachel, do you have a store? I don't know if she's asking a physical store, an online store.
Oh, okay. I do not have a physical store. I wish. That's in the 50-year plan, maybe. But I do have an online store. So if you click on that blog link, that goes to my main website and you can find my shop there. But there I have all of my patterns. I let the local quilt shops handle fabric. So if you're looking for fabric, head to your quilt shop. They might have some of my patterns there as well. But if you can't find it, head to my website store and you'll find it there.
Fantastic. And the last question we have is, how do I subscribe to the Fat Quarterly? If you go to our website, benertex.com, click on publications, and there's a link for the Fat, or a drop down. You can find the Fat Quarterly there. You can subscribe right on our website. And I think maybe we'll put the link in again for the Fat Quarterly page on our website.
And Stephanie, I don't know if this got mentioned yet, but for the people looking for Rachel's fabric, there is the store locator option on the website as well.
Oh, good point. Thanks, Lisa. Okay, so we put the link in the chat. The Fat Quarterly link is there. So that's how you would subscribe. All right, so I'm going to close out the questions. And I have to scroll back through the chat because I have to find my winner's name. Okay, there it is. All right, well, first off, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Lisa and Rachel, thank you so much for being here and spending your morning with all of our viewers. And I hope everyone enjoyed Swatch and Learn. And there we go. Okay, there. I keep losing my script today. So I'd like to announce our winner. Robbie Ward, you are our winner. We will reach out to you with to get your mailing address so that we can send you a fun, fabulous fabric prize. It could be modern vintage. We'll see if we can make that happen. And we'd actually really love to see what you create with your swatch packs. So if you're a Fat Quarterly subscriber and you create something with your swatch pack, please share it in our Facebook group, which is Create Inspire Delight. And be sure to follow us on social media to see all of our other beautiful fabric collections and projects. And again, if you're not a subscriber to the Fat Quarterly yet and you're inspired to do so, please check out our website to subscribe. So once again, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Lisa and Rachel, for all your insights into projects and fabric. And I hope that you will all join us for our next episode in the fall. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.